So today I'm going to make a presentation entitled Practicing with Feedback Develops Autonomous Writers. And in fact, the title of the presentation has been slightly modified in the program. Anyway, in this presentation, I'll try to define and talk about the importance of feedback. I'll also show the different types of feedback. I'll deal with perception of teachers' feedback, the students' perceptions of teachers' feedback. Then I will present the research question, the method, participants, materials, data collection and analysis. And finally, I will discuss the implications, limitations, and conclusion. First of all, I'd like to note that developing students' writing skills hasn't been an easy task for EFL teachers. In fact, teachers often complain that although they have become composition slaves, which means devoting much of their time to writing tasks and to making lengthy comments on students' writing skills, no significant improvement is achieved. This leads to teachers as well as students' frustration and makes an adverse effect on students' chances of academic success. Hence, the question of how can feedback enhance students' writing skills is raised. This presentation tries to investigate two main points. The first one is how feedback can be effective to improve students' writing skills. And the second thing is the relationship between feedback and practice in developing autonomous writers. In fact, there are many definitions of feedback, but I chose this one for Ambrosi et al. In their book, How Learning Works. I quote, information given to students about their performance that guides further behavior, end of quote. What's the importance of feedback? Feedback is important in three ways. First of all, it can tell students what they are or are not understanding. Second, what their performance or where their performance is going well or poorly. And finally, how they should direct their subsequent efforts. Is there only one type of feedback? There are at least three types of feedback. The first one is what's called form-focused versus content-focused feedback. Form-focused targets mainly grammatical and lexical accuracy. I don't know, if I can hide, I don't know how I can hide it. So that, okay, so it's here. The second type is called, while content or organization-focused feedback targets mainly fluency, idea generation, and rhetorical organization. Each type of feedback is more beneficial in developing students' writing skills has been a controversial issue in TEFL, by the way. The second type of feedback is direct versus indirect feedback. Direct happens when the teacher points out errors and offers correct answers. And this develops students' writing proficiency, especially among low achievers. While indirect feedback happens when the teacher indicates errors through marking codes and lets students correct themselves. The result is that students become more self-reliant as they are guided to participate in the problem-solving process. The third type of feedback is comprehensive versus selective error feedback. Comprehensive feedback is exhausting for teachers. It makes students rely on teachers. It neglects content and coherence, and also it's demotivating for weak students. Why? Because their writing is heavily marked. This implies that excessive form-focused feedback may discourage writers and prevent discourse level changes. While selective feedback focuses on specific error patterns. What are the students' perceptions of teachers' feedback? First of all, most EFL students prefer their teachers, or research has shown this. Research has shown that most EFL students prefer their teachers to correct their mistakes in writing. They also value teachers' feedback on grammatical, lexical, and mechanical features more than those on style and content, the form-based feedback. Also, students tend to believe that form-related feedback is integral in helping them become better writers. And finally, students have a strong desire to, I quote, perfect their English. As a result, they wish teachers to point out and correct every error, end of quote. This is according to Lecky, 1991. My research question is, what kind of feedback do foundation students need to develop their writing skills? And is providing effective feedback to students enough to help them become autonomous writers? Or should feedback be coupled with productive practice opportunities? The method of my research relies on a questionnaire answered by which tackles teachers' perceptions, beliefs, and practices. And the participants are 10 teachers from the unit of foundation program at Al-Buraimi College. The participants are heterogeneous in terms of gender, qualifications, and years of experience. After teachers answered the questionnaire, data was summarized, categorized, and analyzed according to the subheadings below. So the first heading is frequency of writing assignments and practice opportunities. The answers showed that most teachers gave writing assignments to students once a week, while 20% once a fortnight. The results also show that 60% of teachers usually provided constructive practice opportunities by focusing on just one or two priority issues and giving students another chance to use the feedback in a rewrite assignment, while 40% did so often or sometimes. This shows that teachers believe that more practice opportunities are essential. The second subheading is kind of feedback, or the kind of feedback provided to students. All teachers said that they provided a mixture of form-focused and content-focused feedback. And this implies that teachers believe that writing feedback shouldn't focus solely on linguistic accuracy, but it should improve proficiency in general, including content. But addressing form-focused feedback, just a small percentage of teachers showed that they provided comprehensive feedback, while 80% treated errors selectively. Probably, because their students' levels was very weak, notably level 1 students. Those who score A1 in the Oxford online placement test that we apply at Al-Buraimi College. The results also showed that 20% provided correct forms to student errors, while the majority indicated errors through marking codes. This is effective in developing self-reliant writers if the whole process of using codes is well explained in advance and followed by practice opportunities. Also, none of the teachers indicated errors by underlining or circling, and this makes feedback more effective and post-feedback activities less ambiguous. The majority of the teachers provided a combination of praise and criticism as written feedback, and this can be encouraging to students. This implies that the importance of such feedback in affecting learners' attitude towards what they're writing. And here the providing praise and criticism. The third subheading is using peer reviewing and rubrics, in which all teachers either usually or often provided students with rubrics, and this is a strategy that we follow at the unit of foundation program at Al-Buraimi College. The result is that it raises, the use of rubrics raises students' awareness about their writing and how the writing should be structured and how it will be evaluated. Also, most teachers, either 60% or 40%, sometimes created peer review opportunities for students to focus on error patterns and to prioritize feedback before students write another draft. This shows that teachers believe that peer editing as well as rubrics make students more self-reliant and, in the long run, autonomous writers. What are the implications of this study? This study shows that feedback can play a major role in developing autonomous student writers through two main steps. The first step is by providing effective feedback, and here teachers should use error codes instead of error correction. Also, teachers should treat errors selectively. It means they should address just one or two priority issues by the end of each task. Also, teachers show students how they should direct their subsequent errors. In other words, they should avoid, one-word comments such as good or bad or wrong, etc. can be confusing. Instead, teachers should rely on rubrics to specify and communicate performance criteria. And finally, teachers should target form and content, because students should avoid focusing too much on low order concerns, and instead they shouldn't neglect high order concerns dealing with ideas, organization, and fluency. The second step, or the second implication, is that students should be provided with productive practice. In addition to targeted feedback or effective feedback, also students should be provided with productive practice, which focuses on a specific goal, which also identifies the appropriate level of challenge. Students should be given practice of sufficient quantity and frequency. And peer review opportunities also should be provided to students, and those should be given to develop students' critical thinking and evaluation. Peer review tasks help students to gain conscious awareness that they are writing for a diverse audience, not only for the teachers. And it's very important to note here that the full potential of practice and feedback is not realized unless the two are effectively combined. Both interact in a cycle where, I quote, practice produces observed performance that in turn allows for targeted feedback, and then the feedback gives further practice, end of quote, according to Ambrosi. What are the limitations? There are three main limitations in this.
Sorry, you have about 4 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Three main limitations. The first one is that the study relied on participants, on just 10 participants from Al-Buraimi College and from only one higher education institution, so the results cannot be generalized. The second limitation is that the study focused on feedback about students of low levels of English, either elementary or pre-intermediate. Probably collecting feedback about students of different levels may have produced different results, notably selective versus comprehensive feedback. And the third limitation is that the study was based on teachers' answers to a questionnaire rather than an empirical studies, whose results may be more objective and reliable in showing what kind and amount of feedback can help students become autonomous writers. At the end, I'd like to note that developing students' writing skills is not an easy task. It's very challenging for EFL teachers. Feedback could be an important tool in helping teachers and students to develop autonomous student writers, which could be achieved through two main steps. The first step is by providing effective feedback, and the second step is by providing productive practice opportunities. Thank you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Yamen. That was really interesting.
Thank you.
I think